Alright, let's discuss about JavaScript. This tutorial is all about programming in JavaScript. Okay, so let's look at what is JavaScript. So let's imagine this. You visit a website and you see buttons that do something when clicked, and there could be some cool animations, pop-up messages, or even games that run in your browser. So that is where your JavaScript comes into picture and is in action. Okay, so let's get to the definition of JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language. It's like any other programming language like Java, and JavaScript, in short JS. From here onwards I'll be referring it as JS, which stands for JavaScript. So JS helps make websites interactive. So interactive is when you click on something, there is some action which is happening and you get a different response. Okay, so let's consider your Gmail. So when you log into your Gmail, you enter your username and password, and then you click on the sign in button, and that is when the action starts. This is where JavaScript is running and is working in the background. Okay, it will check for your user credentials, and then it will either say that your credentials are not valid, or it will lead you to the inbox. Okay, so we have been looking at Java since so many days, and then let's look at the difference between Java and JavaScript. Okay, okay, the differences between Java and JavaScript. So the first use case is Java is used to build applications, backend systems, and also Android apps, whereas JavaScript is used to make websites interactive. So you make it, so you click on a button, you press the enter key, so it does something, some action is going on, and your website changes and gives you some sort of output. And Java is run on computer, mobiles, servers, and so on, whereas your JavaScript is run inside your web browser. So we are talking about web applications here purely at the moment. The syntax of Java is complex, so once you have learned it, it won't be complex, but when compared to your JavaScript is pretty much simple. And also you can use Java to build banking software, a complex enterprise solution, whereas you can use JavaScript to develop simple to complex applications like your web applications. So next is the use cases of JavaScript. So we can actually make games like simple puzzles or quizzes. You can create animations and cool effects. You can also use it to generate pop-up messages or alerts, and to create a background program for contact forms and surveys. So if you are collecting information of some people or contacts, then you can use it as a survey as well. And also you can develop a full web application using JS. So the use case is from a simple application to complex applications. And then the real world examples of JavaScript are, so if you use Instagram, so the clicking on the like button, what it does is it sends your like to the server, so Instagram server, and updates the heart icon. So that is what it does in the background of Instagram. JavaScript is also used in Google search, where once you start typing, it shows some suggestions. So this is where your JavaScript comes into picture. In YouTube, the controls, the play button, the pause button, volume and suggestions, all these background programming is done using JavaScript. You can also develop chatbots. So chatbots, what it does is you pass on a question and then the chatbot responds with an answer. So this could be the use case of JavaScript. You can also use JavaScript for online shopping, where it updates your cart without refreshing the page. So usually what happens on a web page, whenever the content changes, you need to refresh the web page. But when you are shopping and then you select a particular item, then you put it in your cart. So this cart updation can be done without refreshing the web page. Okay. And then to sum it up, JavaScript is like magic glue, okay, where it makes websites fun and responsive. So I'll bring in a new responsive. It's easy to start and you can build amazing things with it, even games of your own website. And majorly you should not confuse JavaScript with Java, because these are totally different, I'll say, superheroes with different powers. Okay, so that's about the intro of JavaScript. Now let's deep dive into the concepts of JavaScript. So it's a part of scripting. By using JavaScript, we can create actions for selected forms. JavaScript can be written within part of the head. So where do we put the JavaScript content? So within the head tag. Okay. And obviously the extension for all the web applications will be .html, so there is no change. But if you are actually writing JavaScript in a separate file, it goes with an extension of .js. Okay, so we were using .java for Java applications, but for JavaScript you use .js. And we can use JavaScript as a client-side validation and server-side validation. Two sides you can use it. Client-side is, so say for example, you have your Gmail, okay, gmail.com. Now once you start entering, say for example, you do a new registration, you register for a new account. So you start entering your username, user id, your password, re-enter password, and then there is a field which you need to enter your mobile number. Okay, so here what is a valid data? Usually it is only numbers, that to 10 numbers, 10 digits, correct? So some 9, 8, 7, whatever. So you need to enter only numbers. But what if you start entering characters? So it will stop you and say that this is not valid, and it also gives an alert saying that you should only enter numbers. So this is client side validation. Client side validation, where the client, whatever the client is doing, the background program will validate and say that this is correct and this is wrong. This is client side. So that is where you can use JavaScript. So this is client side validation. Okay, so let's move on. That is about client side validation. Now let's talk about server side validation in the same context. Server. Okay, so server side validation is, now you have entered, you are using your Gmail. Again, I'll take the same example. So you need to enter your user ID and password. Okay, so user ID and password you start entering, and then you enter whatever it is, and both of them, and you click on sign in button. Now your credentials go to the web server, obviously the database attached to it, and then it will check whether your user ID matches your password or not. Now this is done on the server side, so which is nothing but server side validation. Okay, so client side validation is, the example I have given is, you start registering, and then for example, instead of the numbers in the mobile or the phone number field, you enter some characters, and it will not allow you to do so, or it will generate an error message, which is an example of client side validation. And the server side validation is when you enter your username and password to access your Gmail inbox, then what happens at the background is the username and password are taken to the server, and it will be checked in the database whether the username matches the password or not, is what it does at the background. If it matches, then you will be directed to the inbox. Otherwise, an error message again will be shown on your user interface saying that the username or password, either one, is incorrect. Okay, so let's move on. And also the other things it can do is, client side means it is the user side. JavaScript is used in millions of web pages to improve the design, validate form, detect browser, create cookies, and so on. These are not the cookies which we eat, but a small program, a small memory, in fact, inside your browser. Okay, so what supports you get in the browsers is IE, Mozilla Firefox, and all that, Opera, Chrome, and all that. So JavaScript is used for the interactivity of the HTML pages. Interactivity is activity between the HTML pages. Okay, we have talked about this Java and JavaScript difference. So JavaScript official name, it was ECMAScript at the beginning. Later they changed the name to JavaScript. Okay, so invented by Brendan H at Netscape in 1996. Quite a long journey they had, and they are very successful. Now, JavaScript is a case sensitive language, an object oriented, and JavaScript is an interpreted language. Okay, so if we compare it with Java, still the same oops concept is there in Java, and the same thing continues here. Case sensitivity, and this is interpreted, whereas your Java is compiled, and if you generate a web application, then it will be compiled plus interpreted. So it's an hybrid mode which happens with Java. JavaScript is a programming language. It is still basically text, so because it's normally embedded in a web page. Editors, all those editors which we use, Notepad plus plus, Visual Studio Code, and all that can be used. So let's look at the first program using JavaScript. Okay, so let me open my Visual Studio Code. So we open Visual Studio Code, and then we'll create a new file, and then we'll create a HTML file. And then pick up one of the folders, one of the drives. Okay, and then let's call it js1.html. Okay, and then we'll use the boilerplate code. HTML5. Okay, and the title is JavaScript. Okay, and then that JavaScript is written in the head part. Okay, so after title, I'll start and script tag, and then I'll say the language equals JavaScript, and you also have to close the script tag. And simply I'll say document dot write. So document writes to write something onto the web browser. Okay, so I'll say hello world, welcome to JS programming. And there is an optional semicolon here, so you can use it, you don't have to use it. Some cases we use it, right? And then save, and simply run. There are some cases where we'll be using it, some cases we won't be using it, so we'll see that as we move forward and run this application without debugging. Alright, so this is the output. Hello world and welcome to JavaScript programming. Okay, now I want you to try to get this particular program. It says home, but I want you to try printing your name, your family member's name, your best buddies, and school, college, etc. Okay, so try it now. 5 minutes task. So let's look at how we actually embedded your JavaScript code into your HTML. So we have used their HTML script tag, in your HTML page. So script open tag and script close tag, that's a pair. So the script tag has one required attribute type, which is usually language is we have to specify the language, which language you are using, and then we have used document.write to display any text that has been that has to be displayed on the web browser. So previously when you were using HTML, so all the text used to go in the body tag, and obviously within the body tag we use different tags like your paragraph, h1, all the headers and all that. But using JavaScript, because we are dynamically generating something, so we use something called document.write. So this is the first level, but there are different syntaxes to actually generate the text. So we use double quotes or single quotes. Sometimes JavaScript allows both the types, single quotes and double quotes. There is no difference. And then every statement ends with a semicolon. So this is optional pretty much, and we'll see this in the next few programs. Comments. So comments in HTML, we use double forward slashes, and the browser actually ignores everything whatever you have put. So this is for a single line command, but if you are using a multi-line command, then we use a forward slash asterisk, and then you put whatever the paragraph of comments, and then you end it with an asterisk and a forward slash. So we'll make use of the comments here. So what we'll do is get into JavaScript, asterisk, and then asterisk. And then I'll put some comments. Comment line 1, line 2, and line 3, and so on, so forth. Okay, so this is a comment which I have put. Save it, refresh, and then you can look at the output. There is nothing, and this is how we write comments in JavaScript. Then we'll look at variables in JavaScript. So variables can be used to express some values or text. So variables are case sensitive in JS. So all the rules here is variables can be included in 3 types: single character, multi-character, and you can also have an underscore character. So the syntax of a variable begins with var. You can create a variable and store your information in it. For example, name equals Jack, or year equals 2025 and so on and so forth. Okay, pi is equal to 3.14. So variables typically have the following characteristics. So these are pretty much the same as any other programming language. So in Java also we have used variables. So here as well we'll be using. So var statement. So we do not specify any data type in JavaScript. So instead we just use var statement, but the interpreter will, upon receiving the data, it will interpret what type of data it is, whether it is string, whether it is a number or an integer or a float value. It will determine and then it will process for that. Okay, you can indicate that you are creating a variable with the var command, and name of the variable, obviously, like year is the name and a value is, which is 2025. So name, when you create a variable you are required to give it a name and an initial value, optional initial value. It's useful to give each variable a value immediately. So in Java or few other languages you can simply declare a variable and then later you can assign a value to it, but here you are expected to give a value, because that is how it determines what type of variable you have actually created. So whether it is an integer, float or a string is determined using the value of that particular variable. So JavaScript automatically determines the type of data in a variable. So this depends on the value of the variable. So this is an example of it. Variable name must start or begin with a character or a letter. So var, so I'm taking a single character variable name here, I, and then I'm assigning a value 10, which means I is an integer. Okay, variable name should not exceed more than 255 characters, so you have to keep it simple. For example, first name, last name, okay, email ID. So these are some of the examples: num1, num2, or sum, division, whatever it is. So don't take a longer variable name. So it is restricted to 255 characters though, but let's not use that lengthy variable names. Do not use keywords or reserved words as a variable name. So this is applicable across all the languages which you have seen. Do not repeat same variable names. Obviously it's an unique thing. So once you have declared a first name, you can't declare a first name again. Instead you use the same variable name throughout. Okay, so here are some examples: var money, var name, and so on. So we have already seen comments. So here the next type of comment is exclamation and double hyphen and then double hyphen and then you close it. We'll come to this in a bit. Alright, so the next program what we are looking at is, so we have JavaScript and then I have a single line comment and document.write. I am using marquee, so that is why your text is rolling. Okay, so marquee and h1, and I used your body. So this is not a good way to do background color. We have to use CSS, but I just used it. So to use a background color, always use a CSS as a background. Okay. Alright, this is the third program where I'm doing a lot of marquees here with different headers. You just have to copy paste and then change the h1, h2 and h3. So all of them are rolling around. we'll look at one example of variables here. So where I have declared HTML head title, and then I'm declaring within the script tag var a is 50. So if you look at it, there is no data type which has been assigned, unlike in Java. So where in Java we say int a is equal to 50, or float b is equals some 14 point something, or string f name equals Leonardo. Okay, so you don't have to specify the data type, but internally your JavaScript will determine what data type you are actually using. So I'm using an int, float and string, and then I'm trying to print it all of them one by one. BR will give you one line break. It's a line break, same as your HTML. Okay, here is a small variation how we print values. So a string, and then concatenate the value of a, and then you also concatenate the break. So similarly I have done, and in line number 16 I'm printing the full name, where I'm concatenating both the first name and last name. Okay, now just give it a try. I'm actually concatenating, doing a lot of things here. Like document dot write 5 plus 6, so it should add up, and I have a variable where I'm giving a name and then printing it, and then I'm concatenating in double quotes. Whenever you put a number in double quotes, it will be treated as string. So concatenating two strings and then printing the value, and I am also doing a different action here. 16 plus 4 plus a string value plus adding two numbers. I just want you to try and get the output.